Hello, it's Melchan, and welcome to the VK2801 review, the German Tier 6 light tank. Haven't done a lot of light tank reviews, so why shall we not start here? So, this tank has been changed in 9.1, and had some mobility changes, so as well as some tiering changes. So, basically, this tank cannot see tier 10s anymore, which it used to be able to see all the time. Now, the battle tiers are, well, the tiers that this tank can see is from 7 to 9, so you can never be top tier, but you can be put in tier 7 games, which is quite nice. So let's start with the mobility. The VK2801 has pretty good power to weight of 24.06, but it gets fucked over by the Terran resistance that you can't see anywhere, and you're buying into a tank that you don't know that it's not gonna be as fast as it say it will be, because they're assholes and they like to make their game with hidden stats, which is really bad. It reports things, as I've mentioned before. The speed limit is 68, it got buffed from 60 to 68 in the last patch, and the traverse speed with the top tracks is 46 instead of 40 or something like that, which is a nice change. The tank feels reasonably mobile. It feels on par with the most other scout tanks, light tanks, whatever. View range of this one is 390. Coated optics and binos, in my opinion, is a must on light tanks, and then the rammer is just to make your gun somewhat efficient. I don't believe that putting like gun length drive or something like that is really worth on the light tank, because if you put things like that on your light tank, you might as well be driving a medium tank, and a light tank's first task, in my opinion, obviously, is to scout, and the rest goes after that. So, to be the most effective scout, you need both binos and optics, even though they overmatch each other. When you're driving, you still want to have extended view range, and when you stop, you want to have that boost from those binos. So, binos, optics, and rammer is the equipment I use on it. The gun on this is the 105 Derb gun. So let's just sort out the stats on the gun. So it's a tier 5 gun, 105, rate of fire 7.5, which makes the reload around 6 point something seconds, 6.8, something like that. Average penetration with AP is 64, nobody uses AP on this gun. Heat penetration is 104, and both of those shells have average damage of 350, and then comes the HE with 53 penetration and 410 damage. HE shell is the one I use the most, and heat is the second one. The AP is not used at all in this tank. 64 penetration, there's almost no benefit from the 53 penetration with HE shell, so highly recommended not using the HE shell, AP shell. HE is the one you should use. Dispersion at 100 meters, so the accuracy 0.55, so that's KV5 with KV2 levels of accuracy. Aiming time 2.3 seconds, which is really nice for that kind of accuracy. And one thing to mention, the damage with HE shell on this gun is 410. So what is it good for? The gun is good for securing low HP kills, as you saw there, even though I probably could have penned that scout with that 53 penetration. But the thing is, this gun is only good for killing or damaging light armor targets or tracking people, which is really what you should try to be aiming for most of the time. This gun, 410 average damage will mean if you hit the roll wheel, you can track whatever tank you shoot at. It's not like most other scouts where you need to shoot somebody in the track like 3 times to track him. This gun tracks people one shot all the time, which is really probably the best thing about this derb gun. Another good thing is that it one-shots artillery most of the time if you hit them in the flat surfaces, and it is really good against the new German TD line, the Waffentraggers. This pens them all day, and with that 7-second reload, 6.8 second reload, the gun has really good DPM if you manage to pen your shots, but finding a waffle that you're able to shoot with this tank is not that easy. This tank is huge, it's not that much smaller than a Tiger, and that can be a pain in the ass when you try to active scout. So I highly recommend not to do too much crazy shit in this scout. It doesn't have the best camo values. The Terran resistance I was talking about on this tank is bad, but it's not like the worst thing ever. It still feels reasonably mobile. The Terran resistance is just below the average. It's not like it's horrible or unplayable or something like that. So as you can see, shooting a T30 in the side will guarantee you like a bit more than 100 damage, which is not really a lot. And here you can see the 0.5 accuracy working. Since this tank is not Russian, the bad accuracy doesn't do any good to it. 57 damage into the shoot tank, and now he's facing forwards. And when your enemies face forwards with that kind of tank. I hit him in the track, I tracked him, but I didn't do any damage. And you'll see what HE does to a front of a VK. Nothing. It bounces off, so this gun is only good for tracking tanks like that. You can't really do effective damage on them, and even if I could do any damage, it would be like 10, 15 damage, so there's no real point to shoot that guy anyways. So what is the biggest issue with this tank? Well, obviously the HE penetration. 53 penetration is really bad. It can't even pen most light tanks frontally. 53 penetration is enough for the T21, that is quite easy to pen, and it is enough to pen all the German UTDs, apart from the tier 7 one frontally. But most of the sides on those TDs, if you hit the superstructure, you're gonna pen. It is really bad at flanking things, because the HE penetration of 53 means that you can only pen like really bad side armors or really bad ass armors, which means that usually the paper medium tank sides or ass you can pen with HE, and you can pen that's pretty much it. You can't pen anything else with that. You can't pen most medium tanks sides or ass, never gonna happen. Most heavy tanks ass, never gonna happen. They always have more than 50 armor. A Leopard 1 has 100 frontal armor, and that tank is considered to be made out of paper. This gun has no penetration with HE, which is kinda sour, because like, even if you park behind somebody's ass, you're gonna do 100 damage to him every 7 seconds, which means that you're gonna be really ineffective unless you load heat. So, in my opinion, heat is good against light tanks and against the asses of heavy tanks or medium tanks when you flank them. So, if you plan to shoot somebody in the ass, load that heat shell to do the 350 damage out, or else you're gonna walk away with like 100 damage from that HE shell, which is gonna be really salty for you, and that is something you have to learn to like manage your ammo properly, because if you only shoot full HE, you can be really sour. In this game, I'm pretty sure I did shoot full HE, but then again, it was a tier 9 game, and I didn't really shoot that many soft targets that I can pen even their asses with heat, so no point to loading heat at all. Is this a bad light tank? No, it isn't. It has its strong suits, but you have to just figure out what they are. You shouldn't be active in this scout. It's gonna get stomped by all the autoloaders in the game, and you won't really have much chances to live. And you shouldn't try to do a lot of damage in this. This is more of a tracking beast that really profits from high HE damage to the tracks and so on. Here I make the biggest mistake. I probably deserve to die for this play. I should have gone on the left side of the hill, but I didn't, so I will pay the price. I'm really happy that I didn't use my repair kit there earlier, where I just tracked myself driving downhill. And here's just the worst play ever. Like, I should have maneuvered, I should have done something, and now an ISU gets spotted as well. I can only hope that he misses, and luckily he did, otherwise you wouldn't be watching this replay here. So yeah, that was a really poor play. I deserve to die for that. And now I am behind a VK. And guess how much ass armor that thing has? That thing has 100 angled ass armor. And I have 53 penetration with HE and 102 penetration with heat. So there's no point of loading heat, because I'm gonna bounce with that as well. Instead, I'm shooting him in the ass with HE. Since he's busy, I can plant one shot after another. You can see how bad the DPM is when you can't penetrate your target. Next shot will kill him if he doesn't run away, and I should be able to plant it here. And I got lucky and I killed him. So I think that like 4 shots to do 300 damage to him, which is really poor when you all things considered. Most other light tanks could have loaded the gold there and just penned him for 100 damage every 3 seconds or so on. But this tank does not have those gold shells. It doesn't have the high penetration potential of other tier 6 light tanks. Most other tanks, light tanks at tier 6 can squeeze out really close to 200 penetration. Not this one, 103 penetration on heat shells. And it's kind of a weird mix of emotions when you play this tank. From one hand, you want to be in tier 7 games, because the average free range of a tier 7 tank is really poor, and then you can really shine with your knowledge of the game mechanics and bushes and camo and view range. But when you're in tier 9, the view range kind of levels out. You still can scout quite effectively, but your shots count. The thing is, like, you do as much damage to a KV-1S as you do to like an IS-3. It doesn't really matter. So you might as well be shooting and tracking the higher tier targets. Obviously, there's more targets you can pen at tier 7 and tier 6, but even at tier 9, There's the Japanese mediums that you can pen from the side, Leopard prototype, all the German TDs, apart from tier 7 that you only can pen sides or ass. And when you pen those, your game really starts to look really, really good. And obviously artillery, and in this game we still have 2 left, and we'll see if I can one-shot those. The gun is like the biggest. If you don't like this kind of a gun, then you will not enjoy this tank at all. If you don't like to hit somebody for 57 damage in the side and reload for 7 seconds, then you will definitely not enjoy this tank. And it happens quite a lot in this, when you shoot somebody in the side for like 50 damage and then he just drives away and you don't even track him, which is annoying as fuck, but nothing you can do about it. Here's this 51 trying to aim and put the proper shot into a flat surface, and it happens and I drive away and he dies. Probably the best feature about this gun is that it one-shots artillery, and you don't have to be worried like with the other light tanks. You shoot the artillery twice and he still has more than half of the health left and he is able to shoot you back. In this tank, artillery usually is not able to shoot back. It depends on the artillery obviously, but most of the time they won't be able to do shit to you before you kill them, obviously. To sum it up, the tank is fine. I wouldn't say it's like really super good, but it's alright. It can be. It doesn't have this huge carry potential that other light tanks have with their higher penetration, that they can pen tier 9s from the behind and so on. This tank cannot pen those. It needs the heat rounds to pen even like tier 8s in the ass, and super heavy tanks it just cannot penetrate. So it doesn't have that huge carry potential, but it's kind of fun to play and derp around. You have to be in a specific mindset to make use of that though. As in this game, staying alive usually is the best thing you can do in a light tank. Not camping base. Like my first position was to counter their scouts and it worked pretty well. I managed to kill one of them and not get myself killed, because in this kind of matchmaking, playing passive at the start is not the worst idea ever. Because if I played anything but passive, I probably would have been dead in 2 minutes. And I didn't, and I was able to do my scouting run a bit later. And shout out to this piece of shit scumbag player, Muddy19. Not saying that I wish you would die, but if you would, I wouldn't be too sad about it. So here's the end plate, 1855 experience, ace tanker, around 1100 damage done, and all that hustle, all those shots, only 1000 damage done, which is something you'll have to get used to when you play this tank. Even in ace tanker games you can't, like some games you can build like 2.5, 3k damage if you get lucky and a lot of soft targets to shoot at, but most of the games will go like this, where you don't do shit while shooting like 50 rounds. Crew skill wise, as you can see, I went 2 repairs, 2 camo and 6 cents. I cannot be bothered to retrain my crew when they actually reach their shit, so I just retrain them when I can get brothers and arms most of the time. But yeah, I chose 2 repairs so I can repair myself when I drive like a retard. I get myself tracked or somebody blows my track off, and I still have enough health to actually be bothered about repairing. Camo skill is obviously nice. Full camo crew after like the second skill would be nice. The smooth ride snapshot, the situational awareness is obviously nice as well. But yeah, as you can see, 21 shots fired, 12 hits, 12 penetrations, in quotes, 1125 damage done, 3360 damage assisted, which basically guaranteed the XP I got here. 38k profit as well, not bad for this kind of light tank. Hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I will see you on the next one.